call this regular city council meeting to order on June 16th, 2025 at 6:01 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Present.
Mr. Bateman?
Present.
Mr. Sanders?
Present.
Mrs. McClellan?
Present.
Mr. Parrott?
Present.
Mr. Downs?
Present.
Mr. Clemens?
Present.
Mrs. O'Donoghue?
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, is there anybody that would like to speak under public participation this evening? Okay, for the record, there is no public participation. We will start with the consent agenda. This evening it consists of 5A, payment of bills, 5B, approval of minutes, May 27th, 2025, Committee of the Whole meeting, May 28th, 2025, County of Logan, City of Lincoln special meeting, June 2nd, 2025, regular city council meeting. 5C, approval of request from Copper and Oak Street, I think, is it St. Jude's? I'll read it as is. St. Jude's Hospital to close Delavan Street between North Kickapoo Street and the alley at Delavan Street, west of Kickapoo Street on Saturday, June 21st, 2025, from 8 a.m. until 11 p.m. for the St. Jude fundraiser. And 5D, approval of request from First Presbyterian Church to redirect traffic on the alley between Pekin Street and Broadway Street from Kankakee Street to Ottawa Street on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025, from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. for the 42nd Church Barbecue Dinner. And 5E, approval of request from the Lincoln Park District to close various city streets on Friday, July 4th, 2025, from 10:45 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. for the 4th of July Children's Parade.
So moved.
Alderwoman McClellan made the motion. Alderman Sanders, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Ms. McClellan?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donoghue?
Abstain.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Okay, next item up is item 6A, ordinance creating section 1-6-10 of the city code entitled Code of Conduct. This item was tabled on 6/2 of 2025. We would need a motion to remove this from the table, correct, Mr. Oblett?
Correct, and if it's not removed from the table, it remains on the table for the next meeting.
We're going to leave it on the table, give John a little bit more time to look into some things.
Okay, we will leave item 6A tabled. Next item is item 6B, resolution for funding agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for section 2 CS 22X RS2 28 CS RS-3 I-55 Business Kickapoo Street.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Sanders made the motion. Alderman Downs, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donoghue?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Okay, next item is 6C, ordinance authorizing the purchase of property at 500, 508 Broadway Street and 601 Pekin Street from Heartland Bank and Trust.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Sanders made the motion. Alderman Anderson, second. Discussion? Mr. Hoblet, do you have anything on this?
Oh, yes. The council, the ordinance came to you last week. You decided you want to move on this. I was able to acquire the legal descriptions on those parcels. The legal descriptions that you have on those in that ordinance is the legal descriptions for the Broadway property. The request was not made for 601 Pekin Street from the seller's side for the person that they're using to intermarry, aka the realtor. So we will get that legal description, but the legal descriptions need to be on the ordinances. And we've amended ordinances in the past. and those amendments were effective the next day and signed, but they were passed the night before because you're voting on the agenda item here. Okay, I'm confident, relatively confident, that the legal description for 601 Pekin Street will come in the next day, in which case the ordinance will be amended to reflect as such. But if you'd like to move on the agenda item tonight, you're well within your right to do as such, and the ordinance will be reflective of that legal description for 601 Pekin Street tomorrow.
Is the council okay moving forward? Okay, any other discussion on this agenda item? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue?
Yes.
Okay, next item up is item 8A, City Treasurer's Report for May 2025. Treasurer Conzo?
Thank you, Mayor. You've all received copies of this report. I'll kind of go through some of the highlights of it. First of all, you'll notice the increase in the amount for certificates of deposit from the general fund. That's because one of those has matured. You may recall at the last voting meeting, you voted to reinvest the money from that, which was is reflected in that total there. It's invested the principal, the $350,000, plus what it earned during the previous period, which is a little over $13,000, which is why you see that $723,137 plus listed there. You'll see also the IMET investments, Illinois Metropolitan Investment Fund. You see that has gone up a little bit too over the years. That started out with several years ago at about $500,000, and so it's grown, but over several years. And you'll notice there too now the other investments; those are fairly new with the money from the sewer fund that you see mentioned there. I would also point out our position did improve over where we were last month with regard to the balance in the general fund, which we like to see, but part of that is due that it goes down so low in April is due to the fact that we pay a lot of things at the end of the year too. But you'll see there, if you look at the subtotal for the general fund at $3.72 million plus, it's up from where it was a month ago, but it's still down from where it was a year ago. So that's some concern, but I'm hoping we can keep moving in the right direction with that. I've changed the format on this because now that we have all these, we've got the CDs and different funds in the general fund and in the sewer fund. That top part of what the report previously looked like takes a little bit more room, so I've extended that to a full page. And then the second page is what you see there is what normally appears at the bottom of the first page. And you see there the various sources of revenue that we received through the state of Illinois and the distributions that we received during the month of May. Also, we finally get the updated information for the end of April for the Fireman's Pension Fund, and you see that listed there as well. And we're still waiting for May. Police Pension Fund there now you see as totals through the end of May. And that's the first time, that's as high as that has been since the fund was consolidated back in December of 2022. If you look at the attachments, and I'll go through these briefly for the various revenue streams, the state income tax, we're a little ahead of where we were last year. Actually, you see we're at $974,538. A year ago, we were at $892,269. So we'll see how that trend continues. Keep in mind with this, a lot of this has to do with when people pay their taxes too. So the fact that we're up is certainly a good indication, but it isn't necessarily representing kind of a long-term trend. Municipal sales tax, or the municipal share of the state sales tax, I should say, we're up somewhat there, $36,000 plus year over year. And the non-home rule sales tax, we're up there only about $18,000 over we were a year ago. So we do see an upward trend. We were kind of expecting that, so we're kind of where we thought we would be. Personal property replacement tax, you see that still continues to trend downward from where it was a year ago. We did expect that based on the projections that we received from the IML prior to the time that we did the budget. And you're seeing that reflected there. Fortunately for May, it's not down as much as it was in previous months, percentage-wise. So we'll see where that goes. But we're down about 100,000 in that from where we were a year ago. We expected some of that, but I was hoping it wouldn't be quite as substantial a reduction as you see there. And then motor fuel, very similar to where we were. Total overall for the 4 months, about $6,000 increase there. And you also know there was an increase in the motor fuel tax, which accounts for that, which would tend to indicate that they're not really selling any more gasoline than they were a year ago, but they're just taxing it more than they did a year ago, which generally is not a good indication. The video gaming tax almost identical to where we were, actually down slightly, down about $167, which is, vary from year to year. But we need to hope that source of revenue, that we're able to maintain that with the regulations that you have in place, because it is a significant source of revenue for the city of Lincoln. And that's all I have unless there's questions.
Any questions for Treasurer Conzo? Okay, thank you. Okay, next item up is 8B, City Clerk's Report for May 2025. City Clerk Bateman?
In the month of May, we received $356,317.11 of sewer receipts, which includes from both prisons of $45,834.98 for the month of May.
Questions for Ms. Bateman? Okay, thank you. Next item is 8C, Department Head Reports for May 2025. They are either on the website already or they will be shortly. Next item is 9A, approval of economic development grant to MLWH LLC for window replacement at 1200 North Logan Street in an amount not to exceed $7,500.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderwoman O'Donohue made the motion. Alderman Sanders second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Ms. McCullen?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donohue?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Next item is 9B, approval of facade grant to Overstock Outlet for a new sign at 129 South Kickapoo Street in an amount not to exceed $1,942.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Anderson made the motion. Alderwoman O'Donohue second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. O'Donohue?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Next item is 9C, approval of contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield for employee health insurance with an 18-month rate guarantee effective July 1st, 2025.
Second.
Alderman Clemens made the motion. Alderman Parrott second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donohue?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen?
Yes.
Next item is 9D, advice and consent to the mayoral appointment of Julia Gerardo to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Downs made the motion. Alderwoman O'Donohue second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. O'Donohue?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Next item is 9E, approval of request for special use permit for property at 1009 Woodlawn Road.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Sanders made the motion. Alderman Anderson second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Ms. McCullen, Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mr. Clemens,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue.
Yes.
Next item is 9F, approval of the installation of Lincoln Way decals on various city sidewalks by LEED.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderwoman O'Donahue made the motion. Alderman Downs, second. Discussion? Alderman Parrott.
If another entity comes and asks, do we have to have like a formal procedure, or are we going to allow anybody to ask who asks to do something like this?
This is well, we used to actually do sidewalk chalk, if you remember, for the Balloon Fest. That hasn't been done. I think that was just a separate request on the agenda item similar to this. There's no form for this that we
Right.
have.
This is to gather data. I wouldn't think that we would allow if somebody wanted to advertise a business or anything on city sidewalks, just for thought.
I agree. And also keep in mind, council has discretion on these type of items in which they wish to approve or not.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mr. Clemens,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Ms. McCullen,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott.
Yes.
Next item is 9G, approval of the contribution of $30,000 to the Logan County Tourism Bureau, contingent upon the approval of a matching amount from Logan County. Is there a second?
Second.
Did you do that, Sam?
I did.
Alderman Clemmons made the motion. Alderman Downs, second. Ms. O'Donahue?
Has there been discussion on the county side of what their contribution is gonna be?
My understanding is that theirs will be a match of 30,000 as well.
But has there been a discussion on the county side?
It actually went through a workshop meeting. I believe they're voting tomorrow night on this. Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, we've been asking for some reports as far as what the expenditures have been from the tourism board. I know that we got the grants that, reports on the grants right there. But is there any type of report on where and how the 200,000 roughly that was given from the city from the hotel motel tax, how it was spent throughout the year?
Throughout the past year?
Yes.
Yeah, there are reports. They've come up here and given us quarterly reports every year since they've received the funding. I believe we can get a expense and revenue report from them for the past year. I know that it was in Mr. McCoy's audit that he had done also. So, Mr. Parrott or Mr. Downs, anything to add on this?
I mean, yeah, we could probably in an email we could just forward it right to you.
Okay. I guess I was under the impression that we was going to be receiving something of that after our last meeting, but maybe it wasn't clear. Trying to look for something like that.
Yeah.
Then, seeing here tonight, there's some papers on the desk that I'm assuming this is from Tourism Board. Is this a projected budget that they have?
Yes. This is what they anticipate. And for clarification, Alderman Parrott and myself had a meeting with Chairman of the Logan County Tourism Bureau, Ms. Pickering, who came and talked to us before. This is their projection on how they believe that if given the funding from the city and the county, they plan to spend the money. Keep in mind, these are contingent upon them transferring assets to another entity. Now, I can tell you that in discussions with Ms. Pickering and Mr. Conahan at the county, that there is a desire for the Bureau to keep the mill. They feel that it would make them feel more comfortable if the Bureau actually owned the location that they actually worked in. So for us, I don't know, I don't speak for the council, but for me, I really don't have a concern with that because we have other things that we're focusing on. I mean, specifically, we just voted tonight to purchase that other building. So as long as They would like to keep the mill. They believe they can do it based on the revenue that they would generate from merchandise sales. And then they would have to make a decision to dip into some of their savings to cover the difference, to cover insurance and utilities for the mill. I was going to ask the council as well, based on conversations, to consider putting a couple more contingencies upon this. So the first contingency has always been that the county makes an equal or greater contribution, right? That's been from the beginning. In other discussions, I also believe that, and I feel there's sentiment from some members of the county as well, to put a stipulation that they agree to downsize the board. We don't know what that number looks like. It could be 8, it could be 6, but 12 members on a board with a budget of this size with a reduced scope doesn't seem to make sense. And then also, because of their position on the mill, I believe we need to put a stipulation that it's okay that they want to keep the mill, but in the future, if something were to happen, the Bureau doesn't exist anymore, or they just decide to transfer it, that they at least give the city or the county the option to acquire that property so that it stays part of our tourism program in Logan County. Excuse me? Yes, first right of refusal. So, just my thoughts on that. So, Mr. Anderson, what would you like to do?
My first thought is, I would like to see the information in regards to the roughly $200,000, how it was spent. Which brings me to think that really I would like to make a motion to table this till we get some of these contingencies worked out and see this report.
Any other council members? Thoughts on this?
Just real quick, and I'm trying to find, the budget, from the previous year, but, I can quickly bring up a 2026, I think, but really the expenses were for advertisement, grants, salary, rentals, and I say rentals like, for like your Xerox, and then also the depot itself. So there's not much in
Insurance.
addition to
on
any of the insurance.
on the attractions.
But yeah, is there some type of a detailed report that gives what is in each one of those categories?
I mean, are you looking for like reams of paper and that type of stuff, detail?
No, the other report that we got from the grants showed that like a check number that was written, who it was written to, and what the purpose of that was for. Is there any type of report that could be obtained from the tourism board for where that roughly $200,000 from last year was actually spent? Not a budget, but where it was actually spent?
Yes, and we also have audits done every year too. So I mean, it's very easily to come up with.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask real quick, are you looking for something specific in there?
No, just the question has been all along that, when we met with the county, that we wanted to see where the money was being spent, how it was being done. And last committee of the whole meeting that we had, it was talked about that there was reports available, and we got those, but they were based on just the grants only. They were not, there was no detail associated with where the roughly $200,000 from the city was spent.
Yeah, I can tell you that the money was spent in such a way that it was, in my opinion, very obvious in the audit that was provided, and I believe I gave you a copy of the audit prior, and that had a pretty good breakdown of where that money was spent. It wasn't very specific, like here's a check that was wrote and things like that, but that method of spending is how we got to this point, was that we didn't necessarily agree with how the money was used and didn't necessarily see the return on investment. So I'm not trying to deter you from what you're seeking. I'm just saying, for me, I think that this document is what they plan to do with the money. At this point, I think we would all agree that we didn't necessarily agree with how it was spent before, on this, so, but we can request that from the Bureau and get that for you. Mr. Conzo?
Thank you, Mayor. I would point out, and I know Alderman Anderson is before you were here, but we did get quarterly reports, as the mayor mentioned. We did get them from Alice, who was at the time was the administrator for the Tourism Bureau, and they did provide some detail. And I didn't provide check by check, type of thing, but they did provide it by fund or by sub-fund within each fund. And I think that those reports probably would provide most of what you'd want to know at this point in time. The other thing, also, keep in mind they've got new leadership now with their board, as you all know, and a new chair of that board, and I think you're going to see that play out in a positive direction. So I think they're going to take things that have happened in the past, and I think they're going to do going forward. I think they're going to do a lot of these things much better.
So the last, I have a financial balance report that I can forward to you from January, but that won't give you a breakdown. We'll have to look into that. And I know Ms. Bateman was really good prior about sending the financial reports out to us.
When I got those reports, I didn't think they said much of anything on them. So, I mean, I have them. I can send them to you, but I don't think they're that detail of a report.
So let me ask then the council members that's been around prior to see those reports, were those reports detailed, and did you see enough information with them?
Did
Alderman
anybody
Downs.
ask for more information?
I can't even access my email right now, so I can't send anything to you. But I can't access it on my computer. What do you? Maybe I can just help you. Do you have any specific things that you're looking for, like dollar?
I'm not looking for
amounts?
anything
But-
specific, just something more in detail about where the money was spent, how it was done. I think we can agree, based on the conversations, that there's going to be changes, and I'm sure the changes are going to be positive, for them. But I just would like to see, how the money was spent in the past.
Sure. So I know that Steve had kind of mentioned that we spent a lot on advertising. That was our biggest expenditure. If you want details on what type of advertising, we can help with that. There was a lot of radio advertisement. There was a lot of
TV.
advertisement. Yeah, TV, closed caption TV, focused on areas that were over 90 minutes away, so to be more likely to stay in a hotel room. A lot of the Chicago suburbs, areas that we could afford around Midway Airport, I believe it was. And that was very expensive. So that's where a bulk of our expenses went to, and then salaries would have been our next biggest expense. I'm not gonna say how much that person made, but it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a lot of money.
So I guess when you
So
talk,
just for an example, in a quarterly report that was submitted by tourism to the council, they give financials. So they talk about the hotel motel tax revenue and what was coming in from the city, grants received, and then advertising efforts. We talk about advertising efforts, but there's not a breakdown of how much money in the report that went to these advertising efforts. However, we do have a budget that shows how much was budgeted, how much was spent out of. That type of detail type stuff. So you're not going to see a check written to maybe a certain person, for a certain amount in the reports that we have necessarily. I think we can dive down deeper into that, but that'll take, more time and so forth. So I don't know. I think that's why they keep asking, is there anything specific that you're looking for?
So one of the questions then that I have is when you talk about paying for advertising and marketing and advertising, is there some report that gives how much was spent on this specific festival or this specific community event? How much was spent in the city of Lincoln versus how much was spent in maybe Mount Pulaski or Atlanta, events that was going on there?
Yeah, I think the closest that you're going to get to how much was spent for events and things like that is that report that you were sent that shows the sub grants. So the breakdown was and I could be wrong because I haven't pulled that audit report in a few weeks, but I think it was like 76,000 on digital marketing, which we thought was just a lot of money. And then like 126,000 on payroll. So, I mean, right there, you're at $200,000. And then you've got utilities, rent, insurance for the assets such as the mill, the depot, the welcome garden, things of that nature. Then you had a number of expenses for office supplies and printing of brochures that they did, things of that nature. That's where a bulk of their money went to. The largest portion that was in salaries and advertising, quite honestly. So I guess my question for you is then, to make sure we move this agenda item along or table it, is, are you in favor of funding the Tourism Bureau at the amount proposed, and we can get you those reports so that you at least have that background? Or is your decision that you would like to make on the funding agreement based on how they've spent money in the past?
No, I'm in favor of the $30,000 as long as the county matches, the same. I am in favor of that. I just wanted to see a little bit of information about how the previous dollars were spent.
We can get that to you. We will make sure. I'll work with Sam or Steve or Mr. McCoy. He's still got a pretty good connection with the Bureau because he's been helping them. So we'll make sure we get you the details that you're looking for. We'll get them to you this week. Okay. Any other discussion on this item? Mr. Bateman.
So if we're not going to table it, I'm gonna explain my vote. I'm going to abstain for these reasons. And part of it is I run a group that would financially gain from a grant if I were so awarded the grant from this group. So I don't feel it's proper that I vote yes or no on this funding agreement. I can say I am a little disappointed that for previous years, the group that I work with was asked to give $1,500 each year for advertising, but we didn't get a breakdown of how it was advertised. And then, quite honestly, I'm more upset the fact that I got this report with all these grants and not once did the Tourism Bureau or anybody from the Tourism Bureau reach out to us and say that these grants are available when we're struggling to fund these events, literally begging anybody for sponsorship, when we could have got a grant for T-shirts or wristbands or those little incidentals that we need to put these kind of events on. So I'm a little upset there. But I'm going to abstain, hopefully, that if this group keeps going, I hope they expect that someone like myself will come forward for a grant for the largest street festival in this county that does fill the hotel's heads and beds. Because looking at that expense, I wish I would have known that they were spending $3,500 on an electric car charging station in Atlanta, Illinois, that not one person spent the night to charge their car. So if the whole thing of heads and beds is that was $3,500 that could have been spent toward trying to raise hotel motel tax money. So that is my basis on abstaining, is hopefully future I could be awarded a grant.
Yeah, I do believe that EV charger in Atlanta, whether we disagree or agree on it, came from a specific grant that they received for that. That was part of a bigger grant, if I'm not mistaken. So, Alderman Parrott.
Working with a lot of grants from the state and such, most of the time we don't go out and recruit specific individuals to apply for grants, because then it looks like you're cherry picking the individuals or the group, and so to try to keep away from that type of perception that you're. Well, I don't know how that took place. I think that she was actually in your guys' group, and I don't know how that became became, and I don't know how your group even approved it.
Yeah, I think my follow-up to that would be, I've spoke with Mr. Bateman about this topic before, and I believe some of us who've sat in on tourism have heard his frustration as well. Don't disagree with you, but I would say that the reason why we're going through this process and this change is to improve how we do things moving forward. And we might not have agreed with how things have happened in the past. This is our opportunity to do it right moving forward. So hopefully we've learned from some of this, and the Bureau has heard our concerns, which I believe they have. So, but time will tell. Okay. Any other discussion on this agenda item? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Downs? Did he say?
Did you have further discussion?
Yeah, so Stan had a.
He did not make a motion to table, so I thought we were moving forward with a vote.
Oh, okay.
If I did have a motion, I'll withdraw.
Okay, yeah, so for the vote, I vote yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donoghue?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Abstain.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Ms. McCullen?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Okay. That brings us down to announcements this evening. The only two that I have is Third Fridays is this week. So hope everybody can come out. It's Nashville Nights. It's usually our biggest one of the season. And there is still an opportunity to help with the bouncy houses if you have time. We have 4 available slots. Anything else on Third Fridays? It's going to be hot and sweaty. So stay hydrated, but come out and have fun. Okay, and then the other one is just a reiteration. I mentioned it last week. The city website changed over. It's new, it's updated, but we're still working through some of the data. There are some pages that we know we need to recreate, such as the solicitor's page. Ms. Bateman and I talked about that. I'm not sure how we lost that one. It's widely used these days, and so we'll get that recreated. But if the council or anybody in the public or anybody is on the website, you can't find what you're looking for, send an email to Ms. Bateman, and we're going to work through these issues, and we're going to get it back to where we needed to. Our change was very abrupt, as I mentioned before. The old website was just simply dying, and we had to make the switch ahead of schedule. So,
On that same note, I know the council calendar that's on there is 2024's calendar.
yeah.
Those are just things we got to update. Everything going back
Yeah.
to 2024, trust me.
Yeah, so kind of really what happened on that was when we first brought this idea forward and the council approved the new website, that was in 2024, and they've been working on it. And so there's a gap between that point in time and now. So we've been actually doing changes to the website that are gone now as well, that we're going to have to recreate. So, yeah, we're going to have a working session on that.
I just say to find the agendas, minutes, resolutions, go under services, go under city code, and then go to your left and it'll say, have stuff there like public documents, then your minutes and agendas will pop up. So that's where you find all that now. It was always there before, but it was also where it was 20 years ago too. I was putting it in 2 different places. So, but that's where it is.
Yeah, one of the things we've talked about there to make it easier was putting a schedule somewhere in a page where you could actually go out, look at the agenda, and then when the meeting minutes are approved, click on that and see the meeting minutes, and then click on the video, the live stream recording, to kind of pull everything together in one spot. If you're doing research on past topics, it's pretty cumbersome currently. So, okay. That's all I had. Alderman Downs.
I want to welcome the public. There's a Juneteenth celebration this Thursday at Latham Park from, I believe, 1 to 6 p.m. So there's going to be music, bouncy houses, and kids' games, and should be fun. It'll probably be also hot, so just for that.
What kind of food? You don't know?
I don't. Oh, it's a cookout. Yeah, so feel free to bring your own grill and cook your own stuff. I guess.
They're going to be vendors, do you know? Vendors?
I don't know.
Yeah, they usually do. To that point, the Route 66 garage sale was pretty busy this weekend, even though it was a little rainy. There was people all over the place, so seemed to be a good turnout with that as well. Alderman Bateman?
So we, Mr. Welch, Mr. Clemens, and myself attended a ribbon cut at a Pilates place, a word that I don't use and probably can't do. But it's very nice. It's out at the Dugan Center. But what we did learn while we were out there is a lot more to that place than just Pilates. If you have any kind of embroidery or such done, there is a large company that does embroidery out there on a very large scale. They're doing it nationwide. They took us through a tour of it. They are literally sending stuff all over the nation. Comes to little old Lincoln, Illinois. Sometimes they supply the product. Other times the product comes to them. They embroider it and send it out. It's pretty large scale. I don't remember how many they said they can run at one time, but it's in the dozens. Hats and coats, and they design their own logos and stuff. So there's a big gathering place out there. It's the old gym. So there's a place out there where you could have gatherings, birthday parties and such. So it's quite a neat place. If you get a chance, I'd contact them and see if they got something they can offer you.
And then the I think it's called the Lincoln Academy, Chief.
That's correct. That's part of District 27 now.
Yeah.
The Lincoln's Academy is there, and they look to increase their student population every year, but started off with 12, I think, students their first year.
Yep. So a lot going on in that building. It's a good reuse of that building. So if you ever want a tour of what they're doing out there, let us know. We can get you connected with the right people to take you through. They would love to take you through there.
Police department uses that embroidery shop, and they do an excellent job.
Yeah. Okay. What other announcements are there, Chief Meister?
I have a few.
Okay.
Not
Floor's
trying
yours.
to ruin a short meeting by any means, but all good news. So first, not department related, I wanted to congratulate once again the Mount Pulaski Hilltoppers shotgun sports team. They made high school history over the weekend. They completed the trifecta. They won all three categories of competition: sporting clays, trap, and skeet. First time for a high school to ever do that. So congratulations to them. Along department lines, I wanted to share some updates with you guys about the DARE program, especially since this council chose, unlike many cities, to help fund our DARE program, which we appreciate greatly. They've done a lot of events, pizza parties and things like that for the DARE classes toward the end of the school year. A couple of Peoria Chiefs games they took all the students up for. Great events to participate in and get kids involved with. This Friday, we'll have our annual DARE golf outing, which helps fund the program as well. It's usually a very big outing and a great time. But most importantly, I wanted to share with all of you that our very own Christy Frugier, our head DARE officer for the Lincoln Police Department, was awarded with the Illinois DARE Officer of the Year award at the DARE conference last week. That's a very prestigious award, and she's very deserving of it. So we're proud to have her and proud of her accomplishment. Little thing about the bikes that I talked about one of the past meetings. Just to update you all on it, I have supplemented my order on enforcement of e-bikes and any bikes, really, but especially ones with motors, that any bike used or suspected to be used in a criminal offense will be impounded through our city code. There's a provision in that we can impound the bicycle for 30 days. So if it's not seized as evidence, at minimum, it will be impounded. And then finally, a little update on staffing. I've spoken to some of you individually about our staffing. Here recently, we have finally reached full staffing for the first time in over 5 years. So Not all of those officers count towards staffing yet because we have a couple at the academy. We have a couple on field training. So long story short, by the end of this year, if all goes well and we don't lose anybody that we currently have on staff, we'll have complete full staffing, 28 sets of boots on the ground, which is
Great.
a long fight, a huge accomplishment. But to go along with that, the police department is proud to announce and very thankful. We received a large grant from the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board in the amount of over $150,000 to use for recruitment and retention. And that is at no cost to our taxpayers and doesn't come out of our city budget. So that's a great supplement that we can use to keep ourselves at full staffing. We'll use those funds to recruit new officers, to retain the officers we have on staff currently. So those are my updates for you all.
It's quite a bit. Congratulations.
Not a good day for me.
Okay, other announcements. Okay, there are no other announcements. Alderman Bateman made the motion to adjourn. Alderman Anderson second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. This meeting is adjourned at 6:47 p.m.